The second of our recently available bitmap compositing techniques that I want to talk about is blend modes. You're probably familiar with blend modes if you have any experience in a pixel-based editing application such as Photoshop. For example, you may have applied a blend mode to a layer that was on top of another layer so that the two images would composite together with a special effect. For example, you might have used lighten or darken, or screen or multiply. If any of these words are familiar to you, you're probably used to working with blend modes. So let's take a look at the Flash version thereof. We've got a file called 11.5 using blend modes, and it just has two graphics in the library. I'm basically creating an advertisement here. So on stage is the underlying layer, and I want to add above that the picture of this snowboard. So I'm going to drop this onto the image, and because it's a JPEG, it has an opaque background. So I want to be able to blend this in using the darken effect, so that the white pixels, which are clearly lighter than the underlying pixels, will disappear, and the darker blue, red, and so on will stay visible to the eye. If you note down here in the Properties Inspector, there's no option to include blend modes, and that's because they cannot be applied to a bitmap. Blend modes have to be used where movie clips mix together and composite, so we need to make this bitmap into a movie clip. So making sure it's selected, let's go up to Modify, Convert to Symbol. Let's choose Movie Clip, and let's call this Board. And let's position this kind of where we want it to be so we can see the effect when it pops in. And let's come down and pull from our Properties Inspector. You'll note this new menu that's available for movie clips, Blend Mode, we discussed briefly in the past. We'll pull this down and choose Darken. So now you see the underlying image visible where there were white pixels, and the darker pixels of the snowboard overcome the snow underneath and stay visible to the eye. Certainly, blend modes are not going to solve all of your problems. For example, if we move this snowboard around to where the underlying pixels are not guaranteed to be lighter, you'll get a mixture of the two images and it may not suit your purpose. So depending on what you're doing, if you know that your situation is going to be aided by blend modes, such as a darker color on top of this snowbank, then you're probably going to be okay. This is useful for repurposing JPEGs instead of having to go in and create a ping version of dropping out that background in another editing application. It also can sometimes save on the size of a ping because the alpha data does not need to be included. But even then, there's no guarantee that there will be a file savings, and there's still the compositing at runtime that you have to take into consideration, which might affect performance. So there's no way to be sure in every situation whether a ping will be better or whether a blend mode will be better. Certainly a ping is more reliable and a blend mode is more flexible, so you have to experiment with each situation as it comes. Okay, let's take a look at some very specific types of blend modes that are unique to Flash.